She never planned to say those words to him. Not like this, not while he stood there in his faded t-shirt, spatula in hand, pancake batter splattered across the counter as his 7-year-old daughter giggled nearby. But as their eyes met across that kitchen island, Sarah knew there was no going back. 2 words that would change everything: I'm pregnant. Hey everyone, thanks for clicking on today's story. If you're enjoying these real-life dramas that showcase the beautiful, messy complications of modern relationships, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories like this one. Your support means everything to this channel. The morning had begun like any other for Daniel Morgan. At 42, he had settled into the comfortable rhythms of single fatherhood, the 6:30 a.m. alarm, the school lunches packed with little heart-shaped notes, the carefully orchestrated morning routines that kept his daughter Emma's life stable despite the divorce that had shattered their family 3 years earlier. "Daddy, can I have chocolate chips in mine?" Emma asked, standing on her tiptoes to peer at the pancake batter. "Half chocolate chips, half blueberries. That's the deal, remember?" Daniel smiled, ruffling his daughter's sandy blonde hair, so much like her mother's that sometimes it caught him off guard. The divorce hadn't been bitter, just sad. He and Jessica had simply drifted apart, becoming strangers occupying the same house until they finally acknowledged what they both already knew. She had moved to Seattle for a job opportunity 2 years ago, calling Emma twice a week and visiting during summer breaks. It wasn't ideal, but they had managed to construct something that resembled co-parenting across 800 miles. What Daniel hadn't expected was to find friendship with Jessica's cousin, Sarah. They had always gotten along at family gatherings, but after the divorce, Sarah had unexpectedly stepped in to help with Emma. Being a kindergarten teacher with summers off, she had offered to watch Emma during school breaks when Daniel had to work. What started as a practical arrangement had evolved into something else: weekend hikes, impromptu dinner invitations, long conversations after Emma went to bed. And then, 3 months ago, something shifted. A lingering hug. A glance that lasted too long. A kiss in the darkness of his front porch that had ignited something Daniel thought had died with his marriage. Now Sarah stood in his kitchen on a Sunday morning, her auburn hair pulled into a messy bun, wearing one of his flannel shirts over her own clothes. The past 3 months had been a careful dance, keeping their relationship low-key around Emma, navigating the complications of dating within extended family, and discovering each other in ways that felt both new and strangely familiar. "I need to talk to you," Sarah had whispered while Emma was distracted by the television in the living room. Her normally warm brown eyes were shadowed with worry. "Everything okay?" Daniel asked, turning down the stove burner. "I'm pregnant." 2 words. The spatula froze in midair. Daniel stared at her, his mind racing through calculations, implications, possibilities. Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she twisted them together. "Are you sure?" he finally managed, aware even as he said it how inadequate the question was. 6 tests sure, she said with a small, nervous laugh. "I know this isn't. I mean, we haven't even told people we're dating. And now." Daniel set the spatula down carefully, wiped his hands on a dishcloth, and stepped around the counter. His mind was filled with practical questions. How would this work? What would Jessica say? How would Emma react? But looking at Sarah's face, vulnerable and uncertain, he pushed those thoughts aside. "Come here," he said, pulling her into his arms. Against his chest, he felt her exhale shakily. "We'll figure this out. Together." "Really?" She pulled back slightly to study his face. "Because I would understand if this is too much. You've already raised a child, you're established in your life, and I'm the woman I'm falling in love with," Daniel finished, surprising himself with the admission. But as soon as the words left his mouth, he knew they were true. Sarah's eyes widened, then filled with tears. "This is not how I pictured telling you that," she whispered. From the living room, Emma called out, "Are the pancakes ready yet? I'm starving." Daniel and Sarah exchanged a look that contained volumes: fear, hope, uncertainty, and something else. Something that felt like the beginning of a new chapter. "Coming right up, sweetheart," Daniel called back, his eyes still on Sarah's. "We have some special news to share while we eat." Telling Emma had been simultaneously easier and harder than expected. At 7, her understanding of pregnancy was abstract. A baby would be coming, she would be a big sister, sort of, and yes, she could help choose some toys for the nursery. The complexities of her father dating her mother's cousin, the restructuring of their family, the potential awkwardness with extended relatives, those nuances sailed over her head, replaced by excitement about a baby. Telling Jessica was another matter entirely. "I want to tell her in person," Sarah insisted, pacing Daniel's living room 3 days after her announcement. "She's my cousin. We grew up together. I can't let her find out over the phone or, worse, through family gossip." Daniel rubbed his temples, feeling the tension headache forming. "Are you sure that's a good idea? Maybe I should talk to her first, explain that." "That what?" "That you're having a baby with her cousin less than 3 years after your divorce?" Sarah's voice rose slightly before she caught herself. "I'm sorry. I'm just scared. Jessica and I have always been close. I don't want her to feel betrayed." Daniel nodded slowly. "You're right. We both need to be there. But maybe we do it here, neutral territory. Not in front of Emma, though." Jessica arrived the following weekend to pick up Emma for her monthly visit. They had arranged for Emma to be at a friend's house for a few hours, giving the adults time to talk. When Jessica's rental car pulled into the driveway, Daniel felt Sarah tense beside him. "It's going to be okay," he said, squeezing her hand, wishing he felt as confident as he sounded. Jessica looked good, her blonde hair cut in a new, shorter style that suited her angular face, her Seattle tech job clearly paying well judging by the designer sunglasses and coat. There had been a time when seeing her would make Daniel's chest ache with loss. Now, he felt only a mild fondness tinged with gratitude for the years they'd shared and the daughter they'd created. "Daniel," she nodded, then smiled at Sarah. "Sarah. I didn't expect to see you here. How are you?" The pleasantries lasted through the front door and into the living room, where Jessica finally paused, looking between them with dawning awareness. "Okay, what's going on? You two look like you're about to tell me someone died." Sarah took a deep breath. "Jess, there's something we need to tell you. Daniel and we've been seeing each other." Jessica's eyebrows rose, but her expression remained neutral. "For how long?" "About 3 months," Daniel answered. "But we've been friends for much longer." Jessica nodded slowly, absorbing this. "I see. And that's what this meeting is about? To tell me you're dating?" Sarah and Daniel exchanged glances. "Not exactly," Sarah said quietly. "I'm pregnant." The silence that followed seemed to stretch for eternity. Jessica's face cycled through several emotions too quickly to identify before settling into a carefully composed mask. "Wow," she finally said. That's big news." "We wanted you to hear it from us," Daniel said. "Before Emma or anyone else in the family." Jessica's laugh held no humor. "I appreciate that, I guess." She turned to Sarah. "When we were kids, did you ever imagine we'd be in this situation? You having a baby with my ex-husband?" Sarah flinched. "Jess, I never intended." "No, I know you didn't." Jessica sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Life is unpredictable. Does Emma know?" "We told her about the baby, but not all the complications," Daniel replied. "She's excited about being a big sister." Jessica nodded, then stood abruptly. "I need some air. And time to process this." "Jessica," Sarah began, rising as well. "It's fine, Sarah. Really. I'm not angry. It's just, a lot. She moved toward the door. I'll be back in an hour to pick up Emma as planned. We can talk more after I've had some time to think. When the door closed behind her, Sarah collapsed onto the couch, tears finally spilling over. That went terribly. Daniel sat beside her, pulling her close. No, it didn't. She's shocked, but she didn't yell or make accusations. She asked for time, which is reasonable. What if she never accepts this? What if this ruins her relationship with Emma? Jessica loves Emma more than anything. She wouldn't let this affect that, Daniel assured her, hoping he was right. The following weeks brought unexpected challenges. Word spread through the extended family, some were supportive, others openly disapproving. Sarah's parents, initially shocked, rallied behind their daughter after seeing her happiness. Daniel's mother embraced the news with enthusiasm, already planning knitting projects for her new grandchild. But it was Jessica's reaction that surprised them most. When she returned that day to pick up Emma, she had been composed and, shockingly, supportive. Life takes unexpected turns, she told them. I've been seeing someone in Seattle for 6 months now. I understand how connections happen when you're not looking for them. Later, after Emma was asleep in the hotel room Jessica had booked, she called Sarah. I want you to know, Jessica said, her voice slightly rough with emotion, that I'm okay with this. It was a shock, yes. But Daniel is a wonderful father, and you'll be an amazing mother. Just promise me one thing. Anything, Sarah whispered. Don't let Emma feel replaced or forgotten when the baby comes. She's sensitive about these things, even if she doesn't show it. I promise, Sarah replied, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, Jess. As Sarah's pregnancy progressed, she moved into Daniel's house. They converted the home office into a nursery, painting the walls a gentle sage green that would work for any gender, as they had decided to be surprised. Emma threw herself into the role of helper, organizing baby clothes by size and color, testing different lullabies to see which ones made the baby kick inside Sarah's growing belly. Do you think the baby can hear me? Emma asked one evening, her small hand pressed against Sarah's stomach. Absolutely, Sarah assured her. The baby knows your voice already. Good, Emma nodded seriously. Because I have a lot to teach him. Or her. But not everything was smooth. At 5 months pregnant, Sarah developed complications that required bed rest. Unable to return to her teaching position for the remainder of the school year, she found herself isolated and anxious, confined to the house while Daniel worked and Emma attended school. I feel useless, she admitted to Daniel one night as he brought her dinner in bed. And I'm terrified something will go wrong. Daniel sat beside her, taking her hand. Nothing is going to go wrong. The doctor said the bed rest is just a precaution. But what if? No what ifs, he interrupted gently. Besides, I have some news that might cheer you up. Sarah raised an eyebrow. What kind of news? Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Sarah's breath caught. This isn't how I planned to do this, he said, opening the box to reveal a simple diamond ring. I was going to take you to that restaurant where we had our first real date. But I realized I don't want to wait for the perfect moment. Daniel, Sarah whispered, eyes wide. I know it's fast. I know people will talk. But I love you, Sarah. I love the family we're creating. Will you marry me? Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks as she nodded. Yes. Of course, yes. The ring slipped onto her finger, a perfect fit. Now we just have to tell everyone, Daniel smiled. Including Emma, Sarah added. As if summoned by her name, Emma appeared in the doorway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Tell me what? She asked sleepily. Daniel motioned her over, lifting her onto the bed beside them. Sarah and I are going to get married. What do you think about that? Emma's face lit up. Really? So Sarah will be my stepmom? And the baby will be my real brother or sister? That's right, Sarah said, her heart full as Emma threw her arms around her. This is the best day ever, Emma declared. They decided on a small ceremony before the baby arrived, just immediate family in Daniel's backyard, with Emma as the flower girl and Jessica, in an extraordinary demonstration of grace, attending with her new partner, a kind-eyed software engineer named Michael. 2 weeks before the wedding, Sarah's doctor lifted the bed rest restrictions, declaring her and the baby healthy enough for normal activity. The relief was overwhelming, and the timing perfect as there was much to do to prepare for both the wedding and the baby's arrival only 8 weeks later. The ceremony itself was simple but meaningful. Emma, taking her role very seriously, scattered rose petals with precision down the makeshift aisle. Daniel waited beneath an arch covered in wildflowers, his face breaking into a smile as Sarah appeared in a flowing maternity dress that showcased her 7-month belly. "You look beautiful," he whispered as she joined him. "I feel like a whale," she whispered back, making him laugh. The officiant, a friend of Daniel's from college, kept the ceremony brief but personal, speaking about the unexpected journeys that sometimes lead to the most perfect destinations. As they exchanged vows, Sarah caught Jessica's eye in the small audience. Her cousin gave her a gentle nod and a genuine smile. At the reception, a casual backyard barbecue, Jessica approached the newlyweds. "Congratulations, both of you," she said, embracing Sarah carefully around her pregnant belly. "I'm happy for you." "Thank you for being here," Sarah replied, emotion thick in her voice. "It means everything." Jessica shrugged. "We're family. All of us, in our own weird, modern way." She glanced over at Emma, who was showing Michael her cartwheel technique on the lawn. "Some families look different than others. That doesn't make them any less real." 6 weeks after the wedding, in the middle of a thunderstorm that knocked out power across the neighborhood, Sarah went into labor. The contractions came fast and intense, the baby apparently as impatient to meet the world as its parents were to meet it. "We need to get to the hospital," Daniel said, already gathering the pre-packed hospital bag. "I don't think we have time," Sarah gasped, clutching the kitchen counter as another contraction hit. "This baby is coming now." Daniel's face paled. "I'll call an ambulance." But the storm had affected cell service, and the call wouldn't go through. In a moment of inspiration, Daniel ran next door where their neighbor, a retired nurse named Mrs. Castillo, lived. Mrs. Castillo arrived with her medical kit and years of experience, quickly assessing the situation. "This baby isn't waiting for anyone," she announced calmly. "Let's get you comfortable." Emma, awakened by the commotion, was sent to wait in her room, but insisted on staying nearby. "I want to help," she said, her small face determined. "I'm the big sister." "You can help by bringing clean towels and keeping the flashlight steady," Mrs. Castillo told her, giving her a purpose that made her stand taller. What followed was both terrifying and miraculous. With only flashlights illuminating the living room, guided by Mrs. Castillo's experienced hands and calm instructions, Sarah delivered a healthy baby boy just as the storm began to subside. His cries filled the room, strong and indignant at being thrust into the world so dramatically. "He's perfect," Daniel whispered, tears streaming down his face as Mrs. Castillo placed the swaddled infant in Sarah's arms. "Welcome to the world, Noah," Sarah said, her exhaustion forgotten as she gazed at her son's face. Emma approached cautiously, her eyes wide with wonder. "He's so tiny," she whispered. "Would you like to hold your brother?" Sarah asked. With Daniel's help, Emma sat beside Sarah and held baby Noah, her expression solemn with the responsibility. "I'm your big sister," she told him seriously. "I'm going to teach you everything." The years that followed weren't without challenges. Noah was colicky for the first 3 months, leaving Sarah and Daniel exhausted and sometimes short-tempered with each other. Emma occasionally struggled with jealousy, especially when Noah began to walk and talk, demanding more attention.